friends. Hello, hi, how are you? I hope you guys are having an amazing day today. Hello. So, first of all, I'm so cozy. This sweater, I got it from ASOS and I am like feeling the fall vibes. I felt a crisp breeze this morning and got incredibly excited. And also candle of the day today. I cannot pronounce the brand, but I will link this candle down below. It is called the Chai Latte candle. Oh my God, the perfect fall candle, especially if you're not super into like pumpkin scents, which sometimes I am, but sometimes I'm not. It has to be like pumpkin mixed with something. I don't necessarily love only pumpkin-esque scents. I like to kind of mix things up in the fall. And I think if you want a fall scent, this is perfect. If you love like deep, rich fall scents, this is like leaves and potpourri. I think this is fantastic. I've been loving this candle. So anyway, today's video, we are going to be doing something I'm actually kind of nervous about. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of exposing myself. This is going to be called a content autopsy, and I did not come up with this idea. My friend, formerly known as Georgia Harris, now goes by Jordan Harris, who has actually deleted their YouTube channel at this point, just because it's better for them, but still has a podcast called Half Cousins Podcast with Spooky Lips and Fat Hips. Lacey here on YouTube. They do an amazing job. I go on that podcast all the time and I would highly recommend checking out if you haven't. I will link their podcast down below. But Jordan actually came up with this idea. Jordan had taken a long break from YouTube and wasn't posting, and she's one of my best friends and I talk to her every day, so I knew what was going on, but I don't think a lot of other people knew what was going on. So she decided to do a series of live streams on her channel where she basically dove into her old videos and really kind of tore into herself, but in a really refreshing way. And I was kind of inspired by this series because a lot of what it touched on was the pressure that I think a lot of smaller YouTubers particularly feel when it comes to creating beauty YouTube content. And I think it was very eye-opening to the kind of things that sometimes can happen to small beauty YouTubers and even, you know, people at bigger sizes. I think there's this trap you can kind of fall into with beauty YouTube in terms of consumerism, like rampant consumerism, in terms of how you view things, in terms of the type of content you sometimes have to make, in terms of sometimes getting pigeonholed into a certain type of content and not being able to branch out from that. And I thought it was really interesting and really enlightening. So I wanted to kind of talk about some of the categories that Jordan had talked about and just, you know, give my opinion on that. So again, go check out Lacey and Jordan's podcast down below. It's called Half Cousins. I'm on it all the time. They're my best friends on YouTube. I have a group of friends that I'm very close with and they're a part of it. So definitely go support them. Go check it out. The first topic I want to talk about is the topic of hauls and buying new things. And this is where I do feel like I'm low-key heavily exposing myself. I think especially, I don't feel this way as much anymore now that I've grown my channel a little bit more and I kind of feel a little bit more confident and comfortable with what I'm doing here on YouTube. But I do think when you first start out as a content creator, a lot of what you're doing is trying to mimic what other people are doing, because that's why you were inspired to start your channel. Like I was inspired to start my channel by like the Laura Lees and Jaclyn Hills of the beauty community. So when I first started, I was trying to do kind of what they did because that's what inspired me to start mine. And I think along with that, there was definitely a huge pressure to constantly be buying. They always had these hauls, which for them, like big beauty gurus, their hauls were PR box hauls where they got to open a bunch of PR boxes. But for smaller YouTubers who weren't getting that PR, it was, you know, a haul of stuff that you bought. I would do cumulative hauls where I would slowly, like every time I got a paycheck, I would buy a couple of things and I would keep it all together. And then I would do one big haul to make it seem like I bought all of this stuff at one time, which I hadn't. I was just trying to keep up with haul culture, but I didn't have the money to be keeping up with it. So there was this huge, huge trend to be buying, to be trying new products, to be reviewing new products, to be talking about new products, to have big makeup collections and big beauty rooms. But at the same time that I was first starting to get into YouTube in about 2016, there was also starting to be this emerging trend of anti-consumerism. And I personally identified a lot more with anti-consumerism than I did with the rampant consumerism. I liked making videos where I did like anti-hauls. We're gonna talk about anti-hauls in a second, but I like doing anti-hauls. I like talking about makeup I didn't like. I like talking about not wasting your money. I enjoyed all of those things. And those topics and trends and those types of YouTubers who were talking about those things were getting more popular because a lot of people wanted to be talked out of, you know, what not to buy. And I think the problem for me, at least as a content creator, especially reflecting on my past content, and even I struggle with this a little bit now, is it's very hard to find a middle ground in that type of scenario, because it feels like you're either making anti-consumeristic content or you're making consumeristic content. And it doesn't always feel like there's a middle ground. Shout out to my podcast called Middle Ground. You can find it here on YouTube. It didn't always feel like there was a middle ground that you could come to as a content creator and be like, hey, don't waste your money, like be smart. But at the same time, I like eyeshadow palettes and I like pretty things and I want to buy them. It was really hard to find, especially in the beginning, it was so hard to find that because it really did feel like if you gained a certain audience from being more anti-consumerist, it was much harder to then turn around and film a makeup haul or talk about products that you enjoy or talk about makeup that you love and you did buy, because it felt like you were supposed to not be buying anything. It was like the year of low buys and no buys and project pans, and it was hard for someone like me who in theory liked those things, but in reality I was like, you know, I don't really want. I remember I tried to do a project pan. I was like forcing myself to use this. If any of you remember this, you've been around a very long time, but I tried to do a project pan like my first year on YouTube, and I had this California blush, and I was trying to pan this so hard. I was literally like digging my brush, trying so desperately to just be able to show some sort of progress. Not even because it got to a point where it was like, I was doing that project pan, not because I wanted to use up the makeup for myself. I was doing it because I felt like I had no progress to show my YouTube audience. And I was watching all of these other project panners like crush it and get all this pan. And the thing that I sort of realized in doing that was the reason I'm not hitting pan on these things is because I enjoy using a wide variety of products. I like having options. I like picking a new foundation, a new concealer, changing up my makeup routine in every aspect every day. I enjoy doing that. That's how I like doing my makeup. I've talked about it in videos before, but makeup is very therapeutic for me. And I think trying to force myself to use products just for the sake of using them, and then in turn kind of neglecting all my other products, just never really worked for me, despite the fact that I tried so hard. And it was the same thing with my low buy. I don't think there's any problem with doing low buys or no buys, and I think some channels do it very successfully. But for someone like me, I just... Honestly, it was just getting to a point of some months I would be buying over the budget and some months I would be buying less. And I was just buying when I thought things were interesting because I was able to do that. And then I felt like I had to justify to my audience like why I had gone $10 over the budget because I wanted this specific highlighter, why I hadn't gone to the budget and what I was gonna do with that extra money. And again, it didn't feel like those types of things gave me, and I can only speak to myself too, but it didn't feel like it gave me any place to grow or any wiggle room to grow as like a person or you know, budgeting wise. I found that sharing my finances on the internet and talking so openly about it, which I did try to do in the beginning because I genuinely thought it would be helpful to other people in my situation, I found that that just opened up so much criticism for me, and people were like mad at me if I couldn't tell you why I did this or I didn't have a good enough reason for justifying why I overspent that month other than I just wanted to. And then I would find myself, I'm not proud of this because I don't lie on my channel often, but there's definitely a couple times I've fibbed. And I think one of them would be when I was doing those low buys or no buys, it was literally fibbing because I was like, I can't tell all of these people that I just bought a $15 powder because they're going to be mad at me because I'm supposed to be, or judge me that I can't just hold up to what I said I was gonna do. And it got to a point where it just felt so frustrating as a creator that I couldn't be consumeristic in nature, or I was labeled a shopping addict. I was labeled somebody who didn't have control of their finances. I was labeled as this extreme spender, or I would be anti-consumeristic and it was, she doesn't have enough new makeup. She's not trying hard enough to pan her products. She's not using all of that makeup up that she already has. Like, it was like you couldn't win. And at that point in time on my channel, I got so incredibly frustrated with that whole thing. I think especially now in the past year, I would say, like probably a year ago from now, I started making content where I felt there was a middle ground. And I think a large part of that, which is the next topic, which is anti-hauls, was kind of cutting anti-hauls out of the equation. I think I found a really good medium of posting, you know, like something I posted this past week, which was basically just like stuff I thought I needed as a makeup wearer that I really didn't need. I loved making that video because it does save people money. It helps you kind of figure out what you may or may not need based on you. I loved creating content like that, but I didn't have to be like, burn all the makeup, burn Sephora to the ground. Like, I didn't have to be so extreme. And especially when I was first starting out, I felt that I did have to take an extreme stance in one direction or the other. And I'm so happy that I have been able to find that middle ground between my love of shopping and my love of not wasting money and being smart about the way we purchase things. I love that I found somewhere in between that works for me now. And I think that's something I'm so proud of working towards the past like couple years. You will never see me do a project pan on this channel again. I have like dreams about that California blush, trying to pan it. I was so miserable trying to do it. I feel like you could tell if you watch those videos how miserable I was. Because I talked about in the last video how frustrated I was with the Benefit Cosmetics California blush and nothing, I didn't even use it. I didn't even use it this month, the past 2 months. I used it maybe 3 times. I'm so frustrated with it. I've realized I don't even like the color. I don't even like the formula. I don't even like anything about this. Literally nothing. I don't like anything about this blush. I hate it because it won't do anything. I'm over it. I'm honestly so over this blush and I've given up. Honestly, I've given up. So let's get into anti-hauls because I think anti-hauls are fantastic. Kimberly Clark created that kind of format here on YouTube. Well, I should say popularized because I know there's some debate about who made it. Kimberly Clark definitely popularized the genre of anti-hauls to the point of we have large, massive beauty gurus do it all the way down to micro influencers. And I think that's great. I think it is never a bad thing to talk about products you don't want to buy and why. However, I did feel that for someone like me who still does like to buy things, anti-hauls would sometimes put me in a very weird position. It felt like you had to make a decision on a release as soon, and I know this is not how Kimberly Clark intended it, because Kimberly Clark, the way that she did anti-hauls was she would wait for reviews and she would talk about, you know, products, and she would, you know, really analyze why you shouldn't buy them from the perspective of are they good or not based on a lot of reviews. But I think what kind of transpired as a result of anti-hauls becoming so popular was you needed to have an opinion on everything as soon as it came out. You needed to have the most recent releases in your thumbnails, or it wasn't relevant necessarily because there were so many anti-hauls happening. You have people making anti-hauls like every week. So if you weren't talking about more relevant products, it did feel like people weren't going to watch the video because they had already seen 10 other people anti-haul something. So the way that YouTube kind of turns in a lot of ways, especially, you know, I notice this a lot in drama content, obviously. It's like if you don't make something within the first 3 days, nobody cares. But I noticed it in makeup too with new releases. If you didn't talk about something soon enough, nobody really cared and nobody wanted to click on the video. And so it became this idea of having to make a very harsh decision of I am not going to buy this item off of little to no understanding of what that product was. Like I had to be like, I am not buying this, 0% chance, no way Jose, swipe or no swiping my debit card. Like I had to make that promise almost to people that I wasn't gonna be buying this product based on nothing. So even if then I said, okay, I don't like this palette, right? If I said I didn't like the palette and then I watched a bunch of reviews and I saw that maybe I would actually like a palette like that, maybe it could be kind of cool for me, I felt like I couldn't change my mind. And if I did change my mind, again, you kind of feel like you, not lie, but you kind of feel like you have to hide it from people if you do turn around and haul something you told 10,000 people you weren't gonna haul. I even made a joke about it and made an entire video of a full face of products I had anti-hauled because it really got to a point, and this is why I stopped doing them so frequently, it got to a point where I felt like every new product that came out, I had to say something bad about it. I had to be anti-hauling it. I had to be telling you why you didn't need it. And honestly, some of that stuff I kind of wanted, but I felt like I had to be that person that talked everybody out of everything. And that's why I switched to the format of kind of what I did to fix this one was I switched to the format of Yas or Pass, which is based off Samantha March's Will I Buy It series, which is basically just talking about new releases off of first impressions. And you kind of can say, I don't know. maybe I will buy this, maybe I won't. I'm definitely buying this. And there's still products I can see right off the bat that I'm like, no, we're not buying it. I think what anti-hauls did for me and my channel was it made me feel like there was no room to change my mind or be a person. Because I feel like so many normal makeup consumers see something at first and like, I'm not really interested. And then you see it really hyped up or you see reviews and then you're like, actually, you know what? I changed my mind. And that's a normal thing to do. It's totally normal to change your mind and decide you want to do something different. But I did feel as a small content creator, I couldn't do that. And while I think anti-hauls are incredibly valuable, I'm going to keep sprinkling them into my content because I know people love them. I do think I've tried to only anti-haul things that I know in my head I have set in stone that I am like not buying it. So I don't have to feel that guilt of going back on what I said and buying something that my initial reaction was wrong about. Okay, let's talk about collection videos. Okay, it's about to get real. I don't know if this was just a me thing, and I don't know if this is even a YouTube specific thing, because I've met people who don't even have YouTube channels who are like, oh, I feel immense pressure to have a beauty room, feel immense pressure to have a ton of makeup. And I think that tide is definitely changing, especially like I said, there's been a huge rise of like anti-consumerism, and I think that's fantastic. I think it's good to not have this feeling that you need to have all of this stuff just for the sake of having it. And I think that is changing a little bit, but I think especially in 2016, 2017, I look back on some of my collection videos and it actually makes me really sad. Like honestly, and even my declutter videos, it makes me really sad because I remember I would film declutter videos and then I would like film them and have the full intention of getting rid of the products, and then I would put like 90% of it back because I would open my drawer and I would see how empty it looked and I would be like, you're a beauty YouTuber, you can't have empty makeup drawers. Like this is so inadequate to have. And that's so sad that I felt that way. Like I made a video about it actually at the time. I remember, I'll never forget this video. I think I had like 5,000 subs and I was doing a blush declutter, and halfway through the blush declutter, I just had like a breakthrough moment of being like, and I filmed the whole video about it, just yelling about blushes, where I was like, I don't even want these fucking blushes. Like, I don't even want them, but I feel this intense pressure to keep them because I feel like I must fill my drawers. I have these IKEA Alex drawers that every other freaking beauty guru had, and I felt this immense stress and pressure to keep those drawers full, to have the Jaclyn Hill, the Laura Lee, the, you know, Kristen, the Nikita Dragon, to have the big beauty room just stock full of makeup. I absolutely kept things I literally didn't use nor care about, especially when I was first starting out, because I wanted my drawers to be full, to stay full at all times, to always look like I had a plethora of makeup. I wanted people to come to my house and be like, oh my God, how crazy all the makeup she has. And I feel like that was so sad. Like it's such an, because at the end of the day, it's kind of an empty feeling. You're trying to get fulfillment out of makeup products, which in and of itself, it's okay to, you know, like pretty things. I still have this whole big room and I still have a decent amount of makeup, but now it's really interesting because if my drawers get too full, I get stressed. I feel like I'm constantly giving things to people and passing along makeup and giving away PR that I'm not going to use, because now I actually take joy in having a collection that, even though it's probably still much bigger than, you know, what other people would consider a normal size collection, even if it's a lot bigger than that, I still have a collection where I know that I love everything that is in these drawers. There's not anything that I'm like, oh, I don't really like that, but I must keep it so it fills this little slot. I have whole empty spaces in my drawers now, and I feel totally comfortable and fine with that because everything in there is something I love. So that's fine. Seriously, if you come to my house, you're probably leaving with makeup. You can ask people that, well, they don't come anymore, but the people that used to come to my house, they can tell you I freely give stuff away all of the time because I never want to have that feeling again where I feel like I need to have stuff just to have stuff, just for the sake of having it. And I also do feel like collection videos on YouTube were a huge factor in why I felt that way, because I would film these like bi-yearly collection videos and I really did feel this pressure to have something impressive to show people. And I don't think if you're a small creator, even if you're just a person who like likes makeup, you don't have to feel that way. The reason that all of the beauty gurus have so much gosh darn makeup is because they're giving it for free. So of course they have rooms overflowing with makeup. I think what I grappled with was realizing that I am just a normal human being a normal person with normal money who doesn't need to try to buy filler crap makeup just to look like I have more. And that was something I struggled with. I'm glad I was honest about it at the time, but I also feel like I went through a period where I wasn't super honest about that. Like I feel like I went through a period of trying to like deny that that's what I was doing, especially in declutters. People would call me out in the videos and be like, you didn't declutter that, but even though you said you didn't really like it. And I would be defensive about it because I didn't want to admit that that's what I was doing. But I think especially getting into a new house, into a new space, and also just getting a little bit older, and I think not really caring as much about that stuff, helped me a lot. Okay, just to end this video, I hope this video is interesting to people. I don't know if it's going to be, but I wanted to touch on the topic of reviewing makeup. And let's talk about PR first, because I do feel, even now, sometimes I still feel this way, where when I was first getting into makeup back in like 2016, I definitely felt a pressure to be very harsh about my reviews. And I think that was because at the time in 2016, that was when we were finding out about like the Morphe codes and every influencer was lying to us and like $60,000 for a review, and everybody was craving honest gurus. And I think there was a time, especially in like 2017, 2018, even into 2019, where honesty and negativity became equals. So if you were being honest and it was a positive review, you didn't always get that feedback of like, oh, you're so honest, you're so real. People would say like, oh, you just got this in PR, so you're kissing the brand's ass. People would say, accuse you of wanting to be on the brand's PR list, which probably it sometimes was true. I can't think of an instance where I did a review hoping to get on a brand's PR list. No, I can't think of one, but I'm sure there was a time where I had like I was using a product and I was like, what if this brand sees this? I think there was a time where you felt like you had to be negative. So I felt as though even if I felt positively about a product, especially when I got in PR, even if I felt positively about that, I still felt like I had to put a negative twist on it somewhere, because I felt like if I wasn't being even a little bit critical, if I wasn't being critical enough, people would think that I was just kissing ass to a brand for sending me PR. Frankly, I do think that's the reason I'm not on a lot of PR lists. Pretty sure I just got kicked off ColourPop's because I was very critical of their Candyland collection. And I do think in doing that, I was almost too critical of certain things in places where I maybe shouldn't have been. Like I wasn't fair enough to products. And at the end of the day, I don't think that's that big of a deal because I'm very loyal to you guys and like my subscribers and being honest with all of you. That's kind of my thing. So at the end of the day, if I was a little too harsh about something or too nitpicky and it like maybe hurt a brand's percentage of getting like 10 sales, like sure, I apologize to that brand, I guess. But at the same time, I don't know if I necessarily regret being overly picky, but I do think there is a pressure on gurus, makeup people, to be a little bit more negative with their reviews. Or I also feel on the flip side, if it's like stuff you bought and it's a really hyped up launch, I do feel, and I still feel this way now, there's a pressure you have to be nice about everything. There's an immense pressure to be overly positive about very hyped up launches and to find a positive even if a product absolutely sucks. Like for example, the liquid blushes, I really don't like them. I really hated them. But I felt like I had to find a positive from the Rare Beauty liquid blushes when I did my review, because if I didn't find a positive, I knew people would accuse me of just being hateful and negative or whatever. Like you're not allowed to find that middle point where you can be both critical and both positive without there being ulterior motives to that. And I understand why. I understand why there's a huge distrust for influencers, but I think as a person who does YouTube, I definitely get caught up in that and have to try to catch myself to be like, okay, Hannah, like what do you actually think? Just say what you think. Don't worry about, you know, the minority of people that might get pissed off at you for not liking this. And I think you have to kind of center yourself in that. But at the end of the day, I think it's all a learning experience. I mean, everything that I just talked about is things that I think I had to experience and feel and grow and change from as a creator to grow into a more honest creator now and a more fulfilled one. Like I feel very fulfilled with makeup in my life right now. I think you do have those pressures and you feel those things, but I don't even think it's about necessarily growing, because I did grow quite substantially on YouTube in a pretty short amount of time. I don't even think it's about that. I think it's about growing as a person and getting more confident as a content creator, and then realizing like not everybody is going to leave you because you don't like doing project pans. Not everybody is going to stop watching you just because you did your eyeshadow a different way, or because you didn't want to review a certain product, or because you went back on your word and you did buy that thing you anti-hauled. Like, people aren't just gonna up and leave you for those things. And I also think it'd be really interesting from like I want to know what you guys think about this. Like, have you noticed the trends that I'm talking about in other creators? Have you seen other creators fall victim to this sort of like feeling like they need to do what everyone else is doing type of hype? Just everything I kind of word vomited at you this video, but be very interested to kind of know what you guys think about this whole thing. And yeah, that's it for me. Go check out Half Cousins podcast. Go check out my podcast. And yeah, I love you guys so much. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, or just subscribe, or do neither. Honestly, just so happy you're watching me. Thank you so much for being here. My merch, my social media, and everything I'm wearing on my face will be linked down below, along with a link to register to vote. That's right. You can click on that link. You can register to vote, and you can be part of your democracy. A super fun thing to do. Along with that will also be my social justice spotlight. You can click on any of those links, donate, sign petitions, be informed. It's very important. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!